I want to ask you a two-part question. As shocked as everybody else when this news came on Chief Brooks,
Right.
and B, do you recall a story that really kind of, and we'll say it went viral, but whether it's on Facebook or in a coffee shop or wherever you are, if you're at a dance recital for your daughter, which is where I was, everybody seemed to be talking about it, and I couldn't find anybody that took the city's side here. So I guess it's a two-part. Let's start with the first. Were you as shocked as everybody
I was
else?
shocked. I was shocked. I was actually doing a ton of yard work on the one spring day we had last week, and so I really wasn't on media or of any sort. And I got a text message that said, "What's going on with Chief Brooks?" I said, "Why? What's going on with Chief Brooks?" And so I went and I scrolled through some of the media outlets, and I said, "Wow, this is what?" You know, it's just shocking to me. Just shocking to me. I mean, first off, I mean, you're dealing with a lot of things. You're dealing with to go back to your original question. You know, I don't remember a story having to do with the city, and I probably gave him some opportunities when I was in there, but we didn't have viral media at that time, so we couldn't. I was fortunate in that way, I guess.
I should clarify that didn't involve former Mayor Ed Hanna. Okay, right?
Imagine if there was social media then.
Yeah.
For a lot of reasons. But yeah, I guess the question is, you know, having dealt with former police chief Benny Rotundo, who was a civil service police chief, and now this is you know, Chief Brooks is a civil service fire chief,
right?
And that's put in place for reasons. That's put in place that you don't have that changing of the guard every time you have a new administration come in. That's put in place so you do have some continuity of leadership, and I think that in order to make a case for an at-will fire chief or police chief or things like that is difficult in a city like the city of Utica, where the political winds blow in different directions depending on you know who's in
who
office.
gets in.
And you know, with that, you also have the opportunity to appoint your own public safety commissioner to oversee both of those positions, and that's where you kind of have that latitude, I guess, as mayor, by putting in a public safety commissioner that would be able to put your agenda forward in those departments, unless you have full faith and confidence in your police chief and your fire chief.
Right.
In that case, you really don't need a public safety commissioner over the top of them, although the position is still there and it defaults back to the mayor. It did default back to me for a while. I did fill the position of public safety commissioner. But for example, right now, Mr. Palmieri is both the mayor and the public safety commissioner as well. So I think that's something that needs to be looked at in this whole thing at the same time. But I was shocked. I was dismayed. I like Russ, Chief Brooks personally, and I mean, the guy does the job. I mean, irrespective of. I mean, here, and this is the first I've really heard of him having any sort of an illness as well. And looking at that, you think to yourself, well, if they can't do the job due to this illness, but I mean, if you look at some of the most recent things here, the fuel spill that was up on the arterial and on Route 12, it was handled flawlessly. When that was done, that was handled flawlessly, which could have been a major problem. And Russ Brooks was the incident commander on that.
Last year, when the whole asphalt thing went down, and Chief Brooks came out against the mayor in that,
which is his right as a citizen of the city to do so.
And that's when, on the air here with us, he revealed that he had contracted cancer from 9/11. But had said that he's currently in remission. So that would mean he's able to do the job. It just seems like it's a battle between the mayor and the chief, and the mayor. This is the mayor's and everyone else too. Let's be honest. He's fighting with everybody right now. The mayor we're talking about.
Look, and I from the mayor's seat, I had my share of fights.
You did.
But I mean, if you look at what I was fighting over a sales tax. That is still in place, by the way, that we still haven't gotten a piece of in the city of Utica that would make everyone, all the taxpayers in the city's lives a lot easier. You know, I was saying that downtown needed a parking garage, which, you know, 15 years later, we still need a parking garage.
Right.
Saying that we were getting an awful lot of attention out to Griffiths Park, whereas downtown Utica was suffering. And now we're getting some attention in downtown Utica. Whether it's the right attention or not, I don't know. But
there's certainly money being funneled in.
At least we're getting some attention.
Yeah.
So I stand behind the things I did because it is frustrating. But these arguments seem to be cut from a different cloth. They seem to be more on a personal basis. I mean, at the end of the day, I still, you know, when I was going back and forth on the sales tax issue, I still talked to Joe Griffo and had a conversation with Joe Griffo. I still talked to Ray Meyer and Assemblywoman DeStita at the time, and I still talk to all these people. It was just a, you know, it was just business. It was the business doing business. Whether they took it personally or not, I don't know. Don't care. I was doing my job, and I think this seems to be different. This seems to be more on a one-to-one basis, which there's no place for that.
In one of the interviews, we'll talk to Chief Brooks coming up next. In one of the interviews, I saw, I think this was the one with the Observer Dispatch, the chief said, in the letter that he received, they're even saying that he didn't get cancer, that he didn't get it from 9/11. Right. But then even if he had, that he was there on a volunteer basis and he was not representing the city of Utica. Therefore, the city will not support him. You were the mayor at that time.
I was the mayor that time.
Was he representing the city of Utica?
I sent him as the mayor, so unless I was paying those guys out of my pocket, which I wasn't.
Right.
No, that was, first off, the state has a huge mutual aid system in place. It has a mutual aid system, not unlike you saw when the brewery fire happened.
Right.
And the city of Utica was stressed and strained while fighting the brewery fire. And then you had the outside agencies come in to assist us with EMS calls and with fire calls throughout the rest of the city. That's mutual aid in a small, in a small setting. Now picture again, go back to 9/11, and I always will tell people that I was on my way to City Hall on 9/11/2001, and I was listening to you on the radio, and you said, "Oh, we have a report that a plane has run into the one tower of the World Trade Center," and I thought, like you probably thought, like everybody in the world probably thought, and again, without the type of media you have today that is so ubiquitous, but turning around and looking at this and saying, "Oh, geez, some poor guy in a small Cessna was probably got to be scraped off the side of this tower." I got into work and threw on the TV in the office, and it was just flabbergasted.
I have to tell you, just talking about it today, I still get chills.
Yeah. And then, I mean, in a well-planned terrorist act, you know, while the whole world was watching this one tower burn, they flew the second plane in, and if you had any doubt that this was a terrorist act to begin with, now that was gone, and it was really, the world changed. It became a completely different place. Now we had thousands of people of New York State, New York City residents, and just people. I mean, you know, going through just hell in this whole structure here. And the state, through their mutual aid system, started to immediately reach out across the state to find out what equipment, what manpower was available. And, you know, the city of Utica and Infrared Components Corp at the time, a guy named, I think it was Tom Klein, had these infrared cameras that were good for search and rescue efforts. And so we went down, we volunteered to go down. And when I say volunteered, I mean amongst the guys in the department, they picked and chose who wanted to go down. So these were the guys who said, we're going to go, because they couldn't bring everybody. Everybody wanted to go, and we needed to keep certainly a safe structure in the city. But we called out and said, who's going to go, because they want people, and the state wanted people down there, and we were willing to answer that call for them. And really, if you think about it, when you think about what was going on in New York City, and I've said this before, is that if you don't send people down to assist at that time, and you're in public service, what kind of public servant are you? Because that was the main, I mean, that's your job right there. That's what you're there for. And at times like that, to show that you have that compassion, that necessary desire to help somebody. That's what people say, what do you want to be in government for? I want to help people. Here's your chance.
And we all celebrated it. I mean, we all were very proud that there were people from here that went there.
Sure. And you know, we had Governor Pataki came up and came to Central Fire Station here to thank us after the fact. You know, we had Congressman Bollert gave a congressional proclamation to the Utica Fire Department for assisting. You know, then Senator Meyer, same thing. He gave a proclamation and a huge gratitude to us. Assemblywoman Justido, one after another came to us and said, "Hey, thanks. We appreciate you doing that. We appreciate you." And let's face it, that was a very, very uncertain time of what was going to happen. People were waiting for the next shoe to drop. It didn't, thank goodness, but they were waiting for the next shoe to drop, and no one knew what was going on. And I have to tell you, I was pretty proud of these individuals who were willing to go as quickly as they were. But if you look at this isn't the only time we went somewhere either. We went down to Hurricane Katrina. We sent people down there to assist. So this is not out of the question of the realm of what the Utica Fire Department does, or any fire department.
How do we take advantage of all the accolades, and then so many years later come back and say, well, you were volunteering, it wasn't really... how do we say that to a firefighter?
People have short memories, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And how does Congress and the Senate act the way they act now after they all stood on the porch of the Capitol and held hands and saying "God bless America" at the time that they did that? I mean, how do you forget that quickly? Especially when you saw so many of these tough talkers now running scared that day. Yeah. I mean, it's appalling, really, to think about that. But to think that you would actually look at someone who would and look, that's one act. This is one act of a guy like a Chief Russell Brooks that the public saw. I mean, the countless acts of things that I witnessed in my short time in office. Not to and I was not even I was a fifth, not even a fifth of his entire time as the interacting with him on a professional level. I mean, I witnessed him run into a burning house that, he heard someone was inside, showed up on the scene without putting his turnout gear in, ran into a burning house. I mean, just because he heard someone was inside and did bring someone out with them. I mean, I was almost, I remember this, we were at the old church on Eagle Street at a mass that was coincidentally an anniversary mass of 9/11. I think it was an anniversary mass, or it was something to commemorate people lost. And there was it had an older altar, and many members of the fire department were there, and one of the priests actually fell on something on the altar, and literally, I mean, when you heard it was kind of a loud boom when this guy went down, and I don't think I even batted an eye, and Russ Brooks was halfway across that altar to see if this guy, the guy was starting to get up on his own. But I mean, everyone else was sitting there wondering what was going on.
Yeah, and he was right there.
I mean, and you'll talk to him later, and these are things that he probably won't remember, but I do. I do remember things like this. I mean, this is someone who, if you or a loved one were ill, sick, impaired, needed rescuing, this is the person you want to have show up there. And now I think he deserves our help.
You have a book there that talks about a lot of this in Utica's support. The infrared cameras, those heat sensing cameras that were made in Utica, that was part of the reason why it was important for us to get down there.
Correct. Yes. Yes.
There's a book. If you were asked the question, if this turned into a court proceeding and you were asked the question, was Chief Brooks on duty?
He absolutely was on duty.
All right.
Yeah, he was absolutely on duty. Absolutely.
Based on that, should we support him if he has contracted cancer? Based on this, should we be supporting him?
Sure. And I think the interesting thing about this is that if it went the way that it was trying to go, and the way that Chief Brooks was trying to navigate this for the city of Utica, it would actually be a financial gain for us, because the World Trade Organization, I believe, would be picking up the tab for some of the
he said it would not cost. It really wouldn't cost the city of Utica
anything. Yeah. So I think that's that's important to notice also, and important to realize also. So I think it's, you hate to think stuff's personal. It does get personal sometimes, but you hate to think stuff is personal when you're talking about a very distinguished career. And look, this is the guy you want leading the fire department. This is the guy you want leading the fire department. And can't do it forever, obviously.
Yep.
But you want to make sure that when the transition takes place, that the next person knows how to do the right job.
former Mayor Tim Julian. I appreciate the time, and I'd like to take some shots of that book too, if I could. Sure. Carol's standing by on the line right now. I got about a minute here, Carol. Go ahead on Chief Brooks.
Yes. Good morning, Bill,
Good morning.
Good morning, Mayor Julian. There is a program that has been in place and that has been extended through the New York State Workers' Compensation Board for both employees who are injured in the World Trade Center and volunteers. It is a program where many volunteers have been covered for their injuries, for lost time, and Chief Brooks should check. There are forms to fill out. It's right online. You go right to the Workers' Compensation Board site. He could also call the toll-free number for the Workers' Compensation Board with many claims like this, and many years later.
Okay.
And to me, it's a disgrace because that man has served this county, this city, this area, and I think that he's due the benefit of what he's done. And also, I just want to say one other thing.
Yep.
Mayor Julian, what in the name of God is going on with the roads in the city of Utica? Genesee Street is like riding in a buckboard. And that's what I'd like to say.
Okay, thank you, Carol.
Yeah.
You want to comment on that one?
Yeah, I would hope they're going to be paved. I mean, I think we just
I think
tied our hands to pave quite a bit of
commitment over the years.
Roadway, yeah. So I think that we by all means better start seeing some activity there. So yeah, I agree. I mean, we've kind of let them go a little bit over the last few.
Yeah.
But that's one of those big buckets of things that unfortunately I have no control over anymore. And believe it or not, the mayor who's in office now doesn't contact me on a day-to-day basis to say, hey, what should I do about this? So
he might have maybe he might have wanted to have thought about contacting you before this move.
This might have been the one to do it with, yeah.
7:28. We'll do news next. Hold tight, and then Chief Brooks is waiting in the wings. Also, Joe Marino, councilman, very critical of the mayor over the weekend, late Friday night, putting out a statement. We'll get to all of it. The chief is coming up next on WIBX.